Hey, I'm Brian Van, SportbikeTracker.com, and today we're going to break down the K-Tech steering damper install on our 2018 STG Kawasaki Ninja 400 project bike. Okay, steering damper. Why in the hell do you need a steering damper on your bike? If you're going to take and make this a dedicated track bike for racing and or track days, you really should have a steering damper on it. There's a lot of racing organizations out there that are going to flat out require you have it to pass technical inspection, okay? K-Tech offers what is currently the most affordable kit that we found on the market, and I've installed it here on the Ninja to complement the 20 IDS 4-cartridge kit that I installed, as well as the DDS Lite K-Tech rear shock. This kit, the installation of this kit is fairly straightforward. The instructions that came with it, I would not say they were phenomenal. I took my time installing this on the bike. I'm pretty particular. I like to get a really good end result. And I modified what they recommended just a little bit. And I would encourage you, the damper sells at a good price, a quality piece. I'm really happy with the end result. But if this is something that you're interested in, I would look at their instructions, and I would also watch this video and then decide which direction you want to go in it. The only differences that I made is when they have you drill the steering stops out that are on the stock triple clamp and add the bolts that they supply, you need to add a couple more washers on each side. Just go get them at your local hardware store. They're going to cost you pennies, but you need to reduce the sweep even more. Additionally, when you install it, watch what I do to set the damper. The clamp on the right fork tube, okay, right down here. The way that I set that, I think, is the right way to do it. I got a great end result because you really want to watch your tolerances with this thing to make sure that you've got good clearance, lock to lock. I'm excited to get this bike out there and ride it this weekend for the first time on the racetrack with my son Max Van, Grattan Raceway with Sportbike Track Time. Okay, next up, we need to install the bracket that mounts the body of the damper to the motorcycle. We already put the clamp on this fork tube. We did that during our fork install video. Caleb's going to show you a little bit of B-roll of that. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you. Here is the bracket supplied. Mounts right here, like so. We need to remove the OE fastener. It mounts the main body of our fairing stem to the bike. This fastener will not be reused. K-Tech has supplied new fasteners with nylock nuts, which are awesome because they do not come loose. Okay, let me put this in a spare bolt bin. Grab the hardware to mount up our little bracket here. The reason you have to modify the steering stops is the sweep of the handlebars on this bike is so large from the factory that it's beyond the operating range of the damper itself, which would mean when you have, you turn the bars all the way to the lock, right? Maybe you have, even worse, you have a little tip over or something. You could put yourself in a position where you're going to damage the damper and or damage the fork tube. Neither one of those things is cool. So the steering stop modification prevents that from happening. The other kit that I've seen out there for this bike right now that is a linear damper like this, Graves offers a kit that uses an Owens universal damper. The pieces that you need plus the damper, about 150, 160 bucks more than what you see here. Good quality stuff as well. We have that, style kit on our R3, but we wanted to give this K-Tech one a shot here on the Ninja 400 and see what it's all about. Okay, let's get the other one ran down before we put torque to it. Okay, those are all torqued up. Okay, now that we have that bracket installed for the steering damper, we can go ahead and slide the fork leg in. Once again, as stated previously, you have options on how you want to do this. It's going to really depend on what else you're doing, where your project's at. We already were doing the forks. So for me, it was easiest just to slide this bracket on while installing the forks back on the bike. You could leave the forks on the bike and pull the upper triple clamp if that's how you wanted to tackle this. Personal choice. Do what works best for you. Okay, now let's go ahead and slide this bad boy up in there. All right, just gonna put a little tension on this. It's going to give us an opportunity to get the other fork leg slid up in there, and then we'll set the geometry by dialing in the amount of fork tube that protrudes through the top triple clamp. Okay, drilling the lower triple clamp for the steering stops. You can see I've got the one side drilled. This is a challenge to do on the bike. I got that pretty centered. I've already got that one tapped out. Okay, this is a pretty logical solution by K-Tech and Toby. It is the most affordable steering damper kit for this bike. The retail is currently under $400, which is what's going to make it worth doing, this additional step. The other kits are all significantly more expensive. And this is a budget bike. So we're not going to show all the drilling because it's going to be super boring. But just to give you an idea, here's your access that you have to work with, right? And ultimately we're drilling for a 5mm by 0.8 tack. There's the hole. It really didn't take very long. The material is pretty soft. Got my die here. Put just a little bit of MPPL on it. You want to get it started as straight as you can. Nice, even pressure. What I like to do is every so often, especially if you start to feel the resistance increase, let's back it up. Kind of clean up what you already did. And you can see that MPPL is doing a pretty good job, even though I sprayed just a little bit on the bit. It's getting in there and helping lubricate this so I can cut the threads easier. This really comes down to pressure and feel. When you feel the bit start to bind and that good constant pressure isn't enough to drive through it, you want to back up and then kind of come back at it. And it'll be like this pretty much the majority of the way. Okay, this damper turned out to be a little more of a project than I really anticipated. These, not really so helpful. But I have landed on what I think is going to be the best possible way to install this, and I think it's going to be a great end result. We're going to start by revisiting our steering stop modification. One washer is not enough. I want you to go to the hardware store and I want you to buy 4 more washers in total. We're going to use 3 on each side. So you're going to get 4 more washers that are basically the twin of the 2 that were supplied with this kit. I want you to use 3 on each side, a little bit of red Loctite, and we'll be good to go. The damper itself, the only measurement I want you to take that I think is really relevant is going to be this. I want to make sure that we're 65 millimeters from the body clamp to the end here. We are cash money. We are good to go. The damper is going to mount up on the motorcycle like so, okay? Fastener into the damper clamp. O-ring. I want you to take this spacer, big side towards the damper. This kind of puts a little bit of pressure on there. That O-ring now acts as like a little cushioning device, okay? So this thing's just not banging around in there. I'm not going to use Loctite here. We take our bikes apart quite often, inspect them quite often, so not really worried about this coming loose. You decide what's appropriate for yourself there. So I'm going to run this one in. I'm going to torque it up. All right. Important to note, this clamp over here, that is not tight. Push it up a little bit, push this over. Fastener through the eyelet. See how I'm installing that? That side is going to go up. Skinny side down. Everything's loosey-goose right now over here so we can get this bolt started. Rotate the clamp around until you got it. Go ahead and run that down. 5 mil. I'll be able to put reasonable torque to this right now, but I won't be able to tighten it all the way until we have the clamp on the fork tube tight. All right. Now what I want you to do is I want you to pull this down to about there, okay? And let's turn the bars all the way over to this side. I want you to hold it right on the stop. What we're gonna pay attention to here is the amount of damper rod that is protruding from the end of the damper body. There is full sweep, okay? And you wanna make damn sure you're not putting yourself in a position where you could possibly go past full sweep because that would damage the damper if there were significant load put on it. And once you're at full sweep, I want you to back it off about that much. How much is that much? It's about that much. I want you to look at your angle of the damper here, how you have it riding. Make sure it's as level with the triple clamp as possible. That looks pretty good there. I'm gonna snug this clamp a little bit so we can sweep the bars back. Kind of look at the horizon here. So we've got a good gap there. We've got quite a bit there too. We are coming just really close to that bracket. And we've got some movement here in the damper body, so I'm really not worried about that. It's not hitting it hard at all. It's barely grazing it, so we're going to leave that. And I also want you to look at the gap between the fork tube and the damper when you're on full stop here. When you have the bars all the way to the right, you want to make sure that you've got yourself a good gap there, and that is not touching the fork tube. And I actually, you know what, I'm going to go just a little bit more. When I say a little bit more, just a little bit more. I'm holding it very firmly against the stop. Taking those couple mils out, that actually opened up the gap at my fork tube a little bit. which is something that I want to make sure that we're maintaining. Rotate it back. And now we're easily clearing that fairing bracket as well at full sweep. So you see, that's about what I left myself right there. It's bigger on the other side, and at the end of the day, that doesn't make any difference, okay? Okay, what's left to consider? Well, you want to feed some adjustment into the damper, right? There are multiple clicks of adjustment. I'm going to drop this bad boy somewhere in the middle for right now. You can feel the difference that it made in resistance. Now I want to look when I'm going sweep to sweep. Have I created any conflicts? Brake line looks good. I'm not in love with the ABS sensor. I think that would be better served if I ran that now behind our damper body, and I'll easily be able to do that and secure it to the lower triple down in this area here. And that's something that I'll play with a little bit. I would encourage you to do the same thing. You know, when you're working on your bike, you want to find that best possible position for everything that you do. I pull this cable tie as well. And try and avoid any trouble when you're out on the track. You know, if you can square it off here in the shop before you take the bike to the track, that's really the way that you want to do it. You also need to account for suspension travel here as well. There used to be a little bracket here that would hold that. I've got something else that I can put in place that should hold this quite nicely, but you want to make sure that you're going to have enough suspension travel or enough brake line and enough ABS wheel speed sensor harness to account for full extension of the forks. And that, of course, is something you can check when you've got it up on the triple tree front stand to make sure that you're all good to go, because installing the damper does change the routing of a few things. Okay, there you have it. That's what it took to get the install done. I'm happy with the end result. I'm excited to get out there and ride it. It's a necessity for a track bike, in my opinion. Even for a lightweight bike like this, what you don't want to have is have a crash due to a head shake. Plus, to pass tech inspection with a lot of racing works, you are going to have that. I answer all the YouTube comments myself. Sometimes after, like, say, a long weekend, there is a metric shit ton. I will get to each and every one of them, especially the technical questions. So if you have a question about this part, about this install, leave it there, and I'll be happy to help you get your Ninja 400 dialed in just like ours.